Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Balthazar.
And today, welcome to the first video episode, if you're choosing to watch this on YouTube. Yes, this is the distribution, if you thought that we were opposite voices for some reason.
I mean, it's possible.
It's possible.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? No one knows. But welcome to the video edition if you are indeed watching it on YouTube. But we're going to be doing a little bit of an early recap because one thing happened that is so monstrously disastrous that we had to talk about it early. And then another thing happened which is so monstrously amazing that we also had to talk about it. So it just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, because there originally was going to be a depression episode today.
True.
And now we have a depression and recovery episode as well. So there will be some waves to move through. But before we get into that, we'll have some news on the recruiting front to get into as well.
Love that transition. It's a great transition. But yeah, there are two new Kansas State Wildcats to welcome to the family. The first one we'll cover is the transfer from Nebraska, Will Honus, who is like kind of the Daniel Remator Bebe of this class, except for he's not a tight end. And basically the only connection there is that they're both like 85 years old.
Yeah, basically. He was a junior college guy out of Butler County. He was the class of 2018, so that was a really long time ago. And he committed to Nebraska out of junior college, and he spent at least 1 year there, so this is year 6, 7-ish for Will Honus. He clocks in, according to his ESPN profile, he's 6'1", 230. Out of junior college, he was actually fairly highly regarded. He was a high 3-star at an .8818 on the composite ratings for JUCO. He's a number 1 rated inside linebacker and the 29th junior college prospect in the country. And Will Honus, then he went on to spend 3 years at Nebraska. I have his stats right here. He had 15 total tackles in 2018. Then in 2019, he was honorable mention All Big Ten this season. He had 72 total tackles with a sack. And then in 2020, he had 57 tackles and 3 sacks that season. So... And he did not play this last season because he got injured back in the spring. It was apparently pretty bad because K-State's only accepting him as a walk-on and no one else gave him any offers. And I believe it was something with his knee that went wrong. So K-State is taking a bit of a flyer on him, but they do have their 2 starting linebackers for next year, Daniel Green returning, and Brandon Jennings, the high-profile transfer out of Maryland, coming in. So Will Honus will probably come in and immediately be at best the 3rd string, or best the number 3 linebacker, I should say. Yeah. And it's more likely he would be the number 4 because Nick Allen is also coming off of a knee injury. And, then Austin Moore.
Nick Allen, guy who's always on the the bonus section. Yeah, just lives there.
Yep. And then Austin Moore, he actually had a sneakily good year this past season. He wasn't anything incredible by any stretch of the imagination, but he was probably a little bit worse than Cody Fletcher, which makes sense. He was the number 3 linebacker, and he was admirable when he was on the field. I can't complain. For number 3 linebacker, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Will Honus could step in and take either his role or Nick Allen's role, more likely Nick Allen just because of his deals with injury. We also might just be a little bit deeper linebacker and end up playing 5 guys regularly. Although we'll see still, I'd imagine, majority Daniel Green and Brandon Jennings. But Will Honus, I'm happy with this, especially because it's a walk-on. I mean, we're not taking up a scholarship with adding Will Honus, so you can't be too upset with it, honestly.
I mean, best case scenario is we get a really, really good linebacker that we don't have to use a scholarship on. The worst case scenario is what?
I don't know. He is like an active locker room detriment, but that doesn't seem like
like him
because he
was recruited by Bill.
Yeah, he was originally a Bill Snyder recruit, and he nearly committed to K-State and then didn't. The details are kind of fuzzy on it, but he ended up going to Nebraska instead. So,
the K-State farm system that is Nebraska.
Yeah, K-State. Yeah, this is now in the last 3 years, the last 2 years, their 3rd transfer. Add that into Cade Warner, and then Adrian Martinez, obviously the big name transfer from Nebraska. But Will Honus, he may come in, he might not do anything, he might do something. Either way, I'm happy.
Maybe all Big 12, I don't know.
He might be, he pre-injury was a all Big Ten linebacker. There's a lot of really good defenders in the Big Ten. I mean, the Big Ten defensively is what people say the SEC is, I would say, at least at the top, that is.
Let's say for linebackers.
Yeah, for linebacker. Yeah, it feels like there's always some good linebackers coming out of the Big Ten. I don't know, I might totally be wrong. I might just be projecting.
Shame.
But you know what? They seem good to me. But yeah, Will Honas, he is a good ad. From Wichita. So
yeah, another technical Kansas kid.
Yeah, bringing him home. So maybe we'll see some of these guys we're losing to Nebraska come home as well. So just come on home. Come on home.
You hit the...
Yes, I did hit the computer. But
it's okay. It hurt you in some way.
Yeah. Well, Honas was the transfer ad, but then we also, just today, at the time of recording, this is on a Sunday, we got a commitment from a high school player as well. That is Adrian Lara out of Desert Edge, Arizona. He's a quarterback. So we finally get our 2022 quarterback. If you've been following closely, like you've probably seen this coming for a little while. He was projected to K-State on 24/7 about a week ago, I would say. And it was around there. He's a 6'2", 205 senior, as we said, out of Arizona. He went to Desert Edge High School. And he has some excellent stats throughout his career. He threw for 10,652 yards over the course of his high school career, played all 4 years. Although it looks like as a freshman, he wasn't the immediate starter, either that or got hurt. Yeah. But his best season was his sophomore year back in 2019-2020. He threw for 4,000 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 14 picks. He was 231 completions to 359 attempts on 64% completion, averaged 17.4 per attempt, and 286 yards a game. Next season, he played fewer games, so he took a bit of a step back. Only 2,393 yards in 9 games, 66% completion percentage, 14.6 per attempt, 23 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions. So took care of the ball pretty well. And then this year, he did take a bit of another step back, although I'm presuming based on the completion attempts numbers, it's because of either a change in offensive philosophy or there was a change in receiver talent, because he completed 2 fewer passes than he did in his best season, which was 2019, and he attempted just 7 more than he did in that year. He was 229 of 336 this past season for 2,758 yards, 62.6% completion percentage, 12 yards per attempt, 212 yards a game for 33 touchdowns, 13 picks. So, and then he also played 1 game fewer than he did back in 2019. So what I'm gathering from that is that he, like you said, he just had not as much talent around him that season. But his film, though, is really intriguing, I would say. I mean, you can talk a little bit more about his mechanics, because that's kind of your realm. Because they're interesting.
Yeah, interesting, we'll say. So, the number one thing with Adrian Lara is, Lara definitely has arm talent. You have to have been playing for as long as he has, especially in Goodyear, I think is the specific city name. Yeah. Desert Edge is the high school.
Yeah, Goodyear's the place.
Yeah, he almost broke Spencer Rattler's all-time passing record.
Yeah, for the state of Arizona, I believe.
For the state of Arizona. Yeah,
so
which...
I mean, we can say what you will about Spencer Rattler in college, which you can, but in high school, I mean, that's, if you have a Spencer Rattler on your team, you're going to destroy people.
Yeah, most of the time you are, but Adrian Lara has a metric buttload of arm talent. It's just sometimes, not even sometimes, most of the times looking at his footwork makes me extremely sad. And if you think me complaining about Will Howard pigeon-toeing on his throws is bad, Connor can tell you the the multiple paragraph essay that I sent him about how there's just a lot mechanically wrong with Adrian Lara as a quarterback, most in the realm of footwork. And I don't want to dump on a kid before he's even got here, but I question if our quarterback's coaching can work that out of him. However, it has been pointed out, mostly by you, that there are a lot of people who technically don't have the greatest mechanics who are still good. And that is the ideal outcome for me. I mean, other than just working them out and he becomes goated. Because honestly, that's his main flaw. It's not even decision making, which it's kind of what you expect for a high school quarterback, the main flaw to be decision making, but he is very physically gifted. He just needs to iron out a few technical things. And I think the fact that he eventually chose us even over Washington State, where he was initially committed, shows that he's willing to retool parts of his game, because Washington State and the school that he came from, obviously, are passing schools. They're air raid teams. And the fact that he's willing to come here shows that he's willing to change up his philosophy at least a little bit. So hopefully his footwork, mostly his footwork, will get a lot better.
Yeah, hopefully. But
it can't really get worse.
Yeah, I like Adrian a little bit more, I think, than Ace, and I don't think it's that either of us actively dislike Adrian Lara.
No.
Like, I'm not in complete love with him, but I mainly like his playmaking ability because, I mean, regardless of his footwork, like Ace did touch on this, he still does have game, and you can see in his tape some seriously tight window throws that he's able to make. You can chalk that up to poor decision making, but at the end of the day, his poor mechanics, like, they're at the very least working for him in high school. That's not going to translate as well to Division I, but he still is making really tight window throws on the run, especially, which is what's encouraging.
He gets better on the run, like, technically.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think a lot of it is just he doesn't think about it as much. I think that's something with a lot of quarterbacks, honestly. The less they think about it, the better. I mean, that's
just Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
that is just Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's Patrick. That's basically K-State's entire QB roster, other than Skyler. And
true.
Because he gets better when he's not thinking about it, which that's insanely hard to do. But when he's not thinking about it, he's actively pretty good.
Yeah, when Will plays brain off football and doesn't get in his own way with confidence, he's great.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Adrian Lara. He'll come onto campus. Obviously, he's not starting.
No.
That's not even a conversation that should be had. I think he'll step on campus and immediately not be the worst quarterback on the roster. I think he'll be better than Jaron and Max Marsh coming on the field.
That's because Max Marsh is a DB now.
That is true. Max Marsh is not even a quarterback anymore.
It's the Sean Robinson of our
That is true, yeah. So why'd we get Sean Robinson? We already have him.
Yeah, we already have Max Marsh.
Yeah, but Adrian Lara, he'll come on the field. I think, like I did bring up Jaron Lewis. I think he's a good comp, honestly, for play style, except I think he's better than Jaron Lewis, at least based on his high school film. So, I mean, I think Jaron Lewis, he obviously has the advantage on playbook knowledge and stuff like that. But I do think that there's similar archetype of quarterback, although I wouldn't want to necessarily conflate the two, because I do think that Lara has a much more consistent arm, despite maybe not having great mechanics.
Jaron Lewis has a stronger arm. Adrian Lara has a more accurate and basically comparable arm.
Yeah. The throw power there is very similar because Adrian Lara does have a big arm. He has great arm talent, and it's a sort of thing where if you can tame that and help his decision making and refine his mechanics, he could be a really good pickup. But that's also why he's available so late. Although it is encouraging that a school like Washington State did have him, because that's a school that routinely has above average quarterback play. I mean, Gardner Minshew, Connor Halliday, to name a few. Anthony Gordon, to name a few. They've sent some guys to the NFL. So them having him for a while there, that's encouraging. And then I'd like to see what he can do in our offense, because I think he's a good fit for the offense as well. So, and then he's just also fairly well rated, 0.8696 in the 24/7 composite. So he comes in and is the second highest rated commit on this K-State team. He's sandwiched in between Jalen Clem at the top with a 0.8739, and then Toby Osunsanmi, he's a 0.8628. So Adrian Lara, 24/7, the composite thinks highly of him, and he's a 5.73 star on Rivals, as I recall. Yeah. So he's well thought of, at least decently, in recruiting circles. He had a Washington State offer, Iowa State offer, KU offer, so some pure schools were looking around him as well. So, and we're not going to see Adrian Lara for a while.
No.
If we do see him, or if there's catastrophe. But
I mean, unless he's just actually that plus 18 gem you get in NCAA 14.
That is true. That's entirely possible. Ace hit his foot. And
it's my knee.
Oh, it was your knee. Oh, I'm so sorry. But yeah, Adrian Lara commits, and that about rounds out the high school class for K-State. I would say probably look for a running back here fairly soon. I would say Travis Bates visited this past weekend. Mm-hmm. He's I think we have a good shot at landing him.
Yeah.
Maybe see that in the next couple of weeks because signing day is coming up really, really fast right now. I mean, it's easy to forget about the actual signing day.
Yeah, with
because
early signing day.
because almost everyone signs on early nowadays. But that would be February 2nd, I believe, since that's the first Wednesday in February. So, I don't imagine we'll see any signing day surprises. Those are becoming rarer and rarer. Yeah. But look out at the portal regardless, though, because that is starting to wind down a little bit for now, although it will pick up again late spring, early summer. Hopefully add the Sedgy Rubblefield.
Yeah, he just finds another year of eligibility under a different name.
Yeah.
I mean, he was listed under, 17 different names at Prairie View A&M?
He was. they had all sorts of different names for him there, which made it was,
Reg.
Yeah, it was next to impossible to figure out his actual total stats just because of how
12 block punts.
Yeah, because their stat keeping was just terrible,
really bad.
Yep. But that's it for recruiting. Unless you had anything else to add about Adrian Lara.
Nope. Now we get to be sad,
and this will be the saddest part of the episode by a lot.
I don't think it's the saddest part of the show that we've had. That probably goes to post-Southern Illinois.
That was rough. Iowa State was pretty bad, too.
Ooh. Oh, no, I don't like thinking about it.
You know what? This is going to be sad, but it's okay, because we'll have a pick-me-up after.
Absolutely.
So, hold your horses. If you can get your way through this part, you will have some happiness after.
Yeah, and everyone knows what's coming.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the K-State KU game from, at this point, about 24 hours ago. It was Saturday in beautiful Manhattan, Kansas, and happiness was taken from us as the Cats lost to KU.
In a heartbreaking fashion.
Absolutely heartbreaking loss, 78-75 to the Jayhawks. After a 50-point first half, the Cats only put up 25 in the second half. They lost the second half 44-25. In front of 10,000 fans at Bramlage and a raucous student section. And that's also despite some incredible efforts on K-State's side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
We can start positive, I guess.
Yeah, we'll start positive.
I won't even say statistically. You can scroll to the statistics, but because that's where we're going to start. But the environment up until the last 5 minutes was really good, and then the last 5 minutes happened.
Yeah.
No one heard that. The microphone didn't pick it up. Someone in this apartment complex is very excited.
Yeah, someone just yelled about something. I think it might have been the playoff game that's happening.
Buccaneers might have lost.
Got
a notification. That's Twitter.
I think Stafford might have just scored.
That'd be cool.
Wait, Cooper Kupp, 80-yard catch.
Oh, cool.
Okay, that's an exaggeration. It was 44 yards, but it took them down to the 12.
Oh,
and they made a field goal and they won.
Yes.
Shame. Could happen.
Shame.
Anyway.
Tom Brady gone forever. Aaron Hernandez. Goodbye.
All right. So now we know what that was about. We can come back.
Now that we got happy again.
Yeah. Let's
we can
bring
be
you
sad
back
again.
Let's bring you back down.
The student section, especially, which we were obviously a part of.
Yeah.
The entire game, it was amazing.
Student section environment was like a throwback for me because I was a freshman during the Big 12 championship run when we beat KU at home, and it just seemed like we were just better than everybody we faced for the most part. Mm-hmm. And it was so much fun. Student section was full most games, and even 2019, when we weren't as good, we still filled it for high-ranked teams like Baylor and KU, which those were both heartbreaking losses. But this was the first time since 2019, I think you could really say that we had a great student section. Or I guess it would have been early 2020 for some of that. But yeah, it was a absolutely excellent student section for this game. And I felt bad because the two times the students have really shown up for the men this year, it's been heartbreaking losses because the other occasion was Marquette.
Yep.
So
maybe they just need no one to show.
maybe that's what they need. So we can get into stats.
Yeah.
Obviously, the man of the hour for K-State was Nigel Pack. He had 35 points. He had 22, I think, in the first half. And
unconscious.
he was simply unbelievable for a majority of the game. He was 12 of 18 from the field, 8 of 12 from 3, 3 of 3 on free throws, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, and 3 steals to add to it. Played 36 minutes of this game. He was simply sensational. It was one of the best performances that we've seen from a Wildcat since, I would say, Jacob Pullen against KU back in 2012 when he dropped 38. Could have very easily had 40 in that game, but elected not to actively. And then, Nigel was just awesome. Especially the beginning of the game where he just was wide open in the corner constantly and was just raining down threes on KU. It was so entertaining.
He just did not miss.
Yeah. Collectively, it was the best offensive half that has been had by K-State in the Bruce Weber era, I think.
I don't think you're going to get much pushback from that.
Yeah, especially given the quality of the opponent. It was sensational from Nigel Pack, and he deserved a lot better than the result that was given. Marquise Noel, he added 6 of 14 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3, 3 of 3 from the free throw line. He had 6 assists to just 1 turnover, and he had 3 steals on top of that, along with 2 rebounds. Marquise was great. He had some acrobatic layups. And
some acrobatic passes.
Yes, yeah, some excellent passes as well. Marquise was really, really good
this game. A spark play. Him and Nigel, honestly, are the 2 spark plugs for this team, and I don't think that's remotely controversial.
Simply phenomenal play from Nigel and Marquise, each dropping 35 and 16 respectively. After that, it really does drop off. Sultan Miguel, he did have 11 points, but he was 0-4 from 3, missed 2 what would have been honestly dagger threes really late in the game. He went 4 of 10 from the field, 3 of 4 at the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 4 fouls, no assists, 1 turnover, and a steal. And you get to Davion Bradford. He had a pretty tough game, 2 of 3 from the field, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, and a block, and he fouled out late in the game. And Mark Smith, he was 1 of 7 from the field, airballed a 3, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, and 4 points.
It wasn't just 2 points. It wasn't even just a normal 3. It would have been another dagger 3.
Yeah, and it just seemed when every opportunity we had to really close out this game, we just could not do it. Other players that scored, Lucas Supke had a big 3 in the first half. Carlton Lingard added 3 points as well, and then Casey Eziegu went 1 of 6 from the free throw line. Just absolutely horrible. And then Mike McGurl and Ish, neither of them scored. Mike had 3 fouls and 1 rebound. Ish had 2 fouls and an assist. So no bench production really this game. Luke, he had a quality 9 minutes and made a big 3 and 2 rebounds. Didn't turn the ball over. Can't really ask for much more than that. Yeah. Carlton didn't make any major mistakes. Had a nice little hook shot. Made 1 and 2 free throws and had a rebound in 6 minutes. So, again, can't really complain about that. Casey, abysmal. Straight up bad. 9 minutes. 1 of 6 at the free throw line. Are you kidding me? You have to. That's the difference right there. That's horrible.
Yeah, it just sucks. It just hurts.
Yeah, it's the story of the season thus far. The post play has been horrific.
Man.
It was especially apparent today or yesterday, I suppose, when we were just getting out rebounded constantly. It was the worst rebounding performance I have seen in quite some time, if ever.
45 to 23 or something?
I believe that was the number. Yeah, KU had 45 rebounds. K-State had 23. KU had 18 offensive rebounds. K-State had just 7. Just absolutely atrocious rebounding performance from K-State.
Oh, God. I just remembered that. Oh, it was like the last 5 minutes. They missed like 4 consecutive shots and just got every board.
Yeah, it was Dave. What I remember specifically.
Be smart. Get read.
Yeah, I remember particularly from that possession was Davion having multiple chances to get a rebound and just not putting his arms out. He just watched the ball. And he was trying to box out Mitch Lightfoot to some avail, but he just wasn't able to do 2 things at the same time, which is box out and put your arms up. And it was just a really rough game for the bigs, per usual.
per usual. I wish it wasn't per usual, you know?
I really wish it was, because I really liked Davion. He had an excellent season last year as a freshman. Casey honestly had a good start to the year and was solid last season. Carlton is earning more minutes simply by not being an active detriment. And that's really sad. And then even Ish is losing minutes too at this point because he's not a plus defender. He's not a good rebounder, as well, everybody wasn't a good rebounder. And then he isn't being the lights out shooter that we need him to be. He missed 2 shots and a 3. So, I mean, what are you going to do? But
Cry.
Yeah, that's true.
Cry about it.
But yeah, rebounding, definitely the story of this game. K-State shot nearly 60% from the field in the first half, 50% from 3, and then just 29% from the field and 25% from 3 in the second half. They finished 45.8% from the field, 38.5% from 3. They were 11 of 18, 61.1% at the free throw line. KU, they were 21 of 30 at the free throw line, 70%. Just brief statistics for them. They shot well from the field. They actually were just not good at all from 3, 23.8%, 5 of 21. That's what I was worried about coming into this game, was Ochai Agbaji scoring from the 3-point line, but he did most of his damage driving to the basket and the free throw line. He was 7 of 11 there. He had 29 points. He got his. I'm not too upset about Agbaji having the quietest 29 points I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Because, he'd score a little and I'd be like, yeah, okay. Yeah, he's going to do that. Yeah, he'll do that. But
Then it added up.
Yeah, when it added up, it was pretty bad. And, I mean, when you have 2 players for KU getting over 10 rebounds, I mean, that's really rough, especially when they had 45 as a team. David McCormick had 15, Jalen Wilson had 10. It was really, really rough sledding there. Other things to talk about, the officiating was pretty rough. I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm not going to be the guy that says we lost because of the officiating, because I think getting out rebounded 45-23, you're going to lose almost all of those games. The fact that we were within 3 at the end of the game is
kind of remarkable.
It's phenomenal, honestly, with the gift of hindsight. But KU did not get called for a foul for the final 10 minutes of the game.
Even though there were a couple of times that they definitely should have.
Yeah,
and also Bill Self should have been teed out.
Bill
5 times.
Bill should have been teed up multiple times for his conduct towards the officials, as well as the one time where they had free throws, and he kind of just got a free
timeout.
He pretty much got a free 90-second timeout, and the officials just kind of let him do it, and that was really frustrating because I don't think anybody else in the Big 12 gets away with that.
No.
Yeah, the officiating was rough. They also called 2 totally different halves. It felt like the first half, they were definitely a lot more lenient. And the second half, they were just calling everything
against us.
Everything against us. Even for a while, they were blowing the whistle a lot against KU there in the second half. But then the last 10 minutes, that just kind of stopped. There was a really controversial charge call that would have been an and one for Marquise Noel, I think.
Yeah. And then one of the players fell, and Selton Miguel was in the area, and he got called for it.
Yeah, and that wasn't... Yeah, that was Selton. He was tripped because McCormick, he put out his leg on a screen, and Selton tripped and fell into Agbaji, and they called a foul on Selton rather than McCormick. McCormick, he really got away with a lot of moving screens. I think that was probably the chief culprit of getting away with fouls on KU's side, because McCormick, he got called for it once, but they honestly could have gotten it for most possessions. That's just kind of college officiating, though. I mean, you're not going to get every call. I don't want to harp on it too much because I don't want to be the guy that's sitting here officiating this, officiating that. But it definitely was a factor in the flow of the game, especially late. Although the flip side of the coin, I'll put out there as devil's advocate, we shouldn't have been in a position for fouls to matter that much at all. So, we can complain about it and we can be upset about it, but at the end of the day, we should have done a better job than we did. I mean, the last thing I'll articulate here is K-State didn't have a single starter with fewer than 3 fouls, one with 4 and then one with 5. KU, their starters, the most any of them had was 3. Other than that, it was 2, 1, or 0. Ochai Agbaji played 36 minutes, didn't have a single foul. Christian Brown, he played 35. He had 1 foul. Almost certainly did more than that. Yeah, and McCormick probably should have been fouled out around the same time Davion Bradford was for K-State because they were doing pretty similar fouls. And then DeJuan Harris, he was holding Nigel Pack a majority of the second half. He only got 2. I think ultimately, if this was a fairly called game, these fouls are probably closer to even. I was say would be probably more for KU as opposed to less for K-State, because I do think K-State was committing quite a few fouls in this game just to stay in it as they were panicking. I just think a lot went uncalled for KU. I mean, my opinion on that doesn't matter too much because I'm ungodly biased in this arena, so you can take my word for it or not. I don't really care, but it was definitely frustrating as a fan. But I mean, at the same time, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is nothing new. I've been watching K-State KU games since I was 5 years old. This is not a new story. This has happened almost every single time I've ever seen it. Like the Svi Mikhaili travel, things of that nature. That the Svi travel is the one that really stands out the most. But I don't know, to illustrate that, this will be my final point on stats. K-State had 23 total rebounds and they had 24 total fouls in this game as a team. And I think that about says it all, honestly.
I am sad.
I am sad as well.
The season's dead.
I mean, yeah.
I hate to steal your thunder there because you had a lot of really good points. However, I think the season is now dead.
I think it is, yeah. I think this has completely taken the wind out of the sails of this team. At the very least, the fan base. Because
you're not getting the fans back.
At this point, you have to win every single game.
I don't think they're getting anything past that.
Yeah.
I think they could do that and they're not getting anything. Because the two times that the fan base, especially the student section, has really shown out have been the Marquette game and this game.
Yeah.
And they got burned.
Yeah.
For both.
I mean, we'll split it up into the tiers. Because that's what they do for entry for students. If you're unaware, they split it into 5 different tiers based on how many games you've been to.
Yeah.
Tiers 1 through 3, those are people that will go to a lot of games regardless of how the team's going. You and I were tier 3 because we weren't able to make it up for winter break and we had other things going on. There was like maybe 50 people in tier 1.
Yeah. It was actually 30. I think they actually released statistics. It was like 30 people.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Tier 2, there were not a ton of people either. Tier 3 was a little bigger. There was maybe a couple hundred.
Around there.
But then tier 4 was just massive.
Wrapped around the stadium.
Which, that tier 4, that's people that went to the Marquette game, maybe one other game, and that's it. And then you just had tier 5, which is people that just show up for the KU game.
Yeah.
And, I mean, those tier 4 people, those tier 5 people, they've been to 1, 2, maybe 3 games. And in all likelihood, those are games that K-State completely blew. And they could have absolutely won, and they lost in absurdly painful like comically hilarious, terrible fashion.
Like the most K-State way to lose any game.
Yeah.
Twice.
Multiple times.
I
mean, when you think about it, I mean, it's what?
Marquette,
TCU, West Virginia, Texas, KU.
My God.
That's 5 times this year. That it's been just heartbreaking losses where we had a significant lead at one point in the game. K-State led, I think, all of those games at halftime, other than maybe Marquette, and they still blew it at the end. I mean, I will still make it to games that I'm able to make it to, but I am past the point of blaming fans that don't show up because, I'm a huge K-State fan. I love K-State. And, I mean, I can't get on a high horse and yell at people that don't go to watch this product. I mean, and it's not the players' fault. We've said this before.
No. It's coaching.
There's an unbelievable amount of talent on this team. Nigel drops 35. That's unbelievable. Marquise drops 16, 6 assists, 1 turnover, 3 steals. Awesome stat line. Marquise is so much fun to watch. Stelton did his best. Honestly, I mean, he should not have
Stelton's trying.
He's a lockdown defender. He is the best defender on this team, and it's the only player even close is Marquise. He shouldn't have been in the position to shoot those threes at the end. He should not be the guy that is forced to be wide open and take those threes. He's on the floor as a defensive stopper, not to take outside shots. There's a reason he went 0 for 4. There's a reason he's averaging like 23% on threes this season. That's just not his game. Davion, he needs to figure some things out. Moving on.
That's over there.
Yeah, Mark Smith has had some great moments. KU game wasn't one of them, but he was also integral to beating Texas. He was integral to beating Texas Tech as well. The OU game, he was absolutely excellent as well, despite that being a lot. Oh, forgot that game. That's 6. And
yeah. Oh, God. Like, they just blend together.
It's bad. Like, I feel I feel awful for the players because, I mean, the times people show up, they end up losing. I really don't think it's the players' fault, honestly, this loss. I think almost all of it's coaching and an inability to adjust, which is crazy because that's what we had to do to beat Texas Tech and Texas. Bruce just really panicked, I think, at the end of that game because he saw the light at the end of the tunnel for, the fan anger and probably prematurely let off the gas, if I'm being honest. I mean, up 16.5 to the number 7 team in the country or whatever. I mean, you can't be doing that.
We'll get a break when we win this game. You see, I think what happened is that he started using when instead of if.
Yeah.
Which he probably finishes out this year and then gets fired.
Yeah, I think he is in all likely going to be told he'd like to retire at the end of this year. I think any goodwill...
You will be
retiring. You're retiring. Any goodwill that Bruce has built up over the last handful of games, I think is gone. It's gone for me, at least, because I was out of goodwill after the TCU game. Then we go on and beat 2 ranked teams in a row. I'm like, okay, I can be fair. Like, he's brought me back in. This is what I deserve.
I tried to temper you.
You did, and he brought me back in, like he always does. And I'm officially done.
You're officially done until we rattle off like 5 more victories in a row.
I don't care.
Away Baylor.
I don't care. I'll go and watch the games. I'll cheer for the team, but I don't care what Bruce does at this point.
I don't care that you broke your elbow.
I don't care that you broke your elbow, Bruce.
I don't care about Pete the Cat.
Yeah, there's a larger conversation to be had about Bruce Weber, I think. Because right now I'm making it sound like I'm trashing on him. I think, well, in my opinion, the correct perspective is to both want him gone and also
respect what he's done.
Respect what he's done, yeah. Because people, I think, have really struggled with being able to do that. And, I mean, at the end of the day, he's won 2 Big 12 championships. That's something no coach in K-State history can say. No one's ever won 2 Big 12 championships at K-State. There's been several coaches that have coached in the Big 12 era. I'm thinking about Dana Altman, Asbury, Woldridge, Huggins, Martin, now Bruce. None of them ever won a single Big 12 championship. Bruce has 2. And, that deserves to be respected. He had the Elite 8 run. He gave us a few years with that incredible core of Cam, Barry, and Dean. And even then, this is a talented, fun team. We're losing in absolutely painful fashion, but, I mean...
Mostly due to coaching errors.
Yeah, this team's talented, and he still managed to put that together. I think he deserves respect for that. I still think he's a great guy, but I think we can also recognize that
it's time for him to go.
The time is up.
Bruce is an excellent man, and I don't think he's like a bottom 5 coach. I don't even think he's like a bottom. Well, he might be a bottom like half, but you got to keep in mind how many schools there are in college basketball, and
there's like 360. I think 350-ish.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Yeah, and Bruce, I think he's an excellent man. I think his heart is in the right place. You can't be as corny as Bruce Weber is without having a heart of gold. But that being said, I think it's time.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to win the fans back at this point. I think he was well aware that Saturday was it. I mean, because it took him those 2 huge, unlikely wins against ranked opponents to get people in the stands. And, and that was earned, I think. I think
deserved.
I think he earned that shot, and it just wasn't meant to be. So, hopefully, they can rattle off a few more wins, maybe make postseason. I don't even care if he makes postseason anymore.
No. He's not going to.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
Unless he just decides to win the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, which,
okay.
Theoretically, if he wins 8 more games, they might. But even then, that's something that doesn't matter for me anymore.
Okay.
I want to see this team succeed and win every game that they can. But I do think the Bruce era is done. So I'm trying to balance those 2 things because it's kind of hard to do that. But you know what? At the end of the day, just want the team to win. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. But at this point, it's not the top of my priority list anymore because another team has taken that spot.
Absolutely. And speaking of balance, this episode needs balance, and the balance comes in literally today's.
Yeah.
That was my knee. Normally, whenever we say today, we might be stupid. But
Yeah, I did
it's
that
actually
earlier.
today.
Yeah.
It's actually today. And the women's Catsketball matchup against number 14, Oklahoma. And I want you to keep in mind, number 14, Oklahoma, for what we're about to say. We all know Ioka Lee's good, right?
Yeah.
You know,
She's
Ioka Lee
pretty
good.
She's pretty good.
She's pretty good.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
How about NCAA record holder, Ioka Lee?
Honestly, it was a matter of time.
She, for those who don't know somehow, if you're listening to this show, you probably know, but Ioka Lee broke the single game NCAA scoring record. She dropped 61 points against number 14, Oklahoma in Bramlage Coliseum. And it's Ioka Lee's world. We're just living in it.
I guess I'll take stats.
Yeah, we got the main one. You just got to cover everything. And here's the thing. Before we go into that, this game will be dominated by the fact that Ioka Lee had 61 points, which, fair.
It should. Yeah, it's
fair.
That's fair.
But it's not like no one else contributed. Almost every other starter and some bench players did contribute a lot to this game.
Yeah.
Which leads us into stats.
Yeah, obviously the headliner, not just of this game, but of the day for college basketball, not just women's, but period, is Ioka Lee. She had 61 in a single game in 35 minutes because she sat a little bit the first quarter before we realized what was happening. And then she also exited the game when she got the record, which was with
She could have got more.
She could have
got more.
When she left the game, she had 61 points. OU's entire team had 61 points.
Yep.
And OU
Good job tying Ioka Lee.
Yeah, OU, they finished a little bit ahead of her. They had 65, which, I mean, the fact it's even close is
kind of ridiculous.
That's kind of ridiculous. It's honestly not even an OU thing. It's just an Ioka Lee thing because she's immensely, immensely talented. It's not just that she's tall. I don't want to hear that narrative.
No. Because Taylor Lauterbach is taller.
Yeah, Taylor Lauterbach, she's 6'7". She is taller, but she obviously isn't as talented as Ioka Lee. That's not a Taylor Lauterbach slight. That's a Ioka Lee is the best player in the country statement.
I don't think that there is a single player in any sport right now, or even within, maybe not the last 10 years. I don't think there's a single player in college sports right now, any sport, men's, women's. I don't think there's a single athlete that is as dominant as Ioka Lee is.
You're not going to get much pushback from me on that. She's starting to work her way into is she the best athlete at K-State ever?
Yes.
I think she is.
I think she is.
I think at the very least, by the end of her career, it will be a sure thing. I think right now there's a couple players that have a marginal argument. I think Michael Beasley if he had stayed for more than 1 year, then I think you can make that argument because he was dominant as well. He wasn't 61 points dominant, but he was consistently 30-ish a game type of dominant. Yokie, though, she was simply sensational. I mean, she had 61 points, as we've said a ton of times already, in just 35 minutes. And she broke the NCAA scoring record, which, by the way, was set previously in a game that had double overtime.
2 overtimes.
So she did it much faster.
She did it in regulation with 5 minutes left.
Yes. Yeah, she did it in regulation. She did that, with 5 fewer minutes than what is allowed in regulation. And she did not attempt or make a single 3-point basket. So this was all done either in 1 or 2 point chunks with either field goals or free throws. She went 15 to 17 from the free throw line. So she got 15 of those 61 points, which leaves 46 points for her 23 field goals that she made on 30 attempts. So she was shooting the lights out of the building, regardless of where she was doing it at.
She was shooting the lights out of neighboring buildings.
Yeah, which I part of this does make me feel bad for Nigel Pack because he had one of the better games that's ever been had in Bramlage Coliseum yesterday.
And then Yokie said, I bet.
And then Yokie, she comes in and she has a performance in Bramlage that can truly only be rivaled even partially by Askia Jones's performance back in the mid-90s. I believe it was in the NIT against Wyoming or something like that, and he dropped somewhere in the 60s range. I don't remember exactly how many, but he shot a lot of threes in that game as well. So there's another asterisk in favor of Ioka Lee. Ioka Lee, she also had 12 rebounds. She had no assist, go figure. And then she had she also, another thing that's impressive, no turnovers, only 1 foul in this performance. She had 3 blocks, so she was getting it done defensively, and she had a steal to go with it. Yokie was just I don't think you can ask for a better performance ever.
You literally can't.
You'd be arrogant to ask for a better performance.
You can't. She has the record.
Yeah, that's the record. That's the K-State record, the Big 12 record, the NCAA the Division I single game record for points in a game. Just incredible, historic stuff for Yokie Lee. And the best player of all time conversation. She's leading the charge, I think, right now.
I think this game seals her being National Player of the Year.
I 100% agree. I think there's almost no doubt in my mind she's National Player of the Year at this point, because I think she was the front runner regardless. And this, how can you not?
How can you not give it to someone? Yeah. This would be, if this were an aberration, like it was just some random
she was someone that averaged 10 a game.
10 a game. It's
she's
averaging 30.
She's averaging, I think, 24 right now per game, which, honestly, when you get over 20, it's like peanuts.
Splitting hairs.
Yeah, splitting hairs at that point, because that's just an incredible player. She's averaging a double-double. That's the important part.
Yeah.
With several blocks a game, and her importance to the team is unparalleled. It's simply incredible to watch her do what she does when she's on the floor. And I feel lucky to have been able to see this in person for free.
Absolutely.
For free.
For free.
If you're a student and
you're not going, you suck.
Yeah, if you're a student at K-State and you aren't going to the women's basketball games, you need to start, because
my God,
Yokie Lee is the best player in the country. She's the best player to ever play women's basketball at K-State, maybe any sport at K-State, and you are doing yourself a disservice if you don't watch her play, because it is simply phenomenal to watch what she does on the floor, because she is so fluid in the post. That's where people get lost with it, I think, is that, she's tall. But it's a lot more. It's a lot more than that, because she catches the ball, keeps it in the air, locates the basket as well as the defender around her, and figures out the angle to put it up wherever she is on the floor. And she does all that in maybe one step.
Yeah.
And
it's funny, because perhaps my favorite example from this game in particular was she was triple teamed underneath the rim, and it just didn't matter. And she still scored. What do you do?
There's nothing you can do to stop her.
Pray?
The only
you need divine intervention to stop Yokie Lee.
Yeah, the only team that's successfully slowed her down was Texas Tech, and even then, I think there were extenuating circumstances there, and a lot of it was just that they were raining threes and shooting 60% from the field. So at that point, we're shooting threes as just stay alive, and Yokie is just not as viable of an option down there in the post, because we just need more points. So I think when Texas Tech comes to town, I think there might be a little bit of a revenge game there for Yokie. Yeah, as if we needed to give her more motivation.
She might drop 80.
she might just. But I think we've said about all we can about it. Is there anything else that you want to say about the GOAT?
No, she's better than Tom Brady is right now. She was
no argument for me. She's definitely more important. She's better.
She herself is more important than, dude.
More important to her team, I should say.
No, she's more important.
Okay, I'll allow it.
But yeah, if you ever get a chance to watch Yokie play live, because you can attest to this, it is different watching her play live than watching her on TV. It is. Something gets lost in translation.
Yeah, I just think it's part of seeing it. It's like what the NBA likes to say. It's like poetry in motion.
Yeah.
It's incredible to see her do what she does live. Because it's watching history in person.
Literally.
Because that's what it was today. I was considering not going for a while because I was still sad about the KU game. So I was like, maybe I don't want to go, but ended up deciding on it. And we all went.
Boy, that was a good choice.
That was an excellent choice. It was also a pretty good crowd as well. Yeah, it was. I think the announced attendance was about 5,000 for this game,
which is insane for a women's game. For a women's game of any sport, getting that draw is insane. And yet, I still walk away feeling like it should be more.
I think it should be. And honestly, I think we're going to see attendance start to climb as her legend continues. Because, I mean, today we saw, after the game, countless sports outlets posting that wouldn't normally post about women's basketball. Sports Center, they posted some of her highlights. ESPN was doing it. I got push notifications about it from like CBS Sports and Yahoo Sports and stuff like that.
ESPN had push as well.
Yeah, and because people saw the dominance there, and I think people are finally going to start fully taking notice at K-State of what they're missing out on. And it's become a thing where it's must-see, I think, if you're in town, because the tickets are not expensive.
No, they're like $5.
Seriously, like a lot of times there's free tickets or $1 tickets, some sort of promotion, and regardless, it's easy to get tickets because they haven't sold out yet, and for students it's free. It costs you $0.
It costs you nothing if you're a student. Mm-hmm. It costs you your time, but it's time well spent.
It is absolutely time well spent. In a lot of ways, it's time better spent than the men's basketball team. Not to not to take shots at them.
Because, no, they're catching strays on the pod, bro.
But I mean, it's
Connor's shooting from the hip and throwing strays.
But I mean, it's just Yokie Lee is just a league above any athlete, I think, at K-State right now, and I think that includes Deuce Vaughn. And Deuce is an incredible draw, and he's so electric, and he's awesome. But Yokie is a whole different level of dominant, because Deuce, there are ways to slow him down and stop him. There's not really much you can do against Yokie Lee.
Divine intervention, like I said, you have to pray.
Yeah, you just have to hope she's missing her shots that day. And today she wasn't. She was 23 of 30 at 76%. I mean, God, it's unbelievable. But
there were other people.
There are other people. That's what I was about to get into. Serena Sundell, the freshman phenom, she was recently ranked the third best freshman in the country by ESPN. And
which well earned.
Yeah, absolutely. And she earned that today. She had 11 points and 5 rebounds and 8 assists and 0 turnovers. She had a block and a steal as well. She went 4 of 8 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, hit both her free throws. Really excellent performance from Serena Sundell. 8 assists to 0 turnovers. I mean, that's an A+ grade.
Absolutely. We had 2 other people close to double-doubles.
Yeah, and Jalen Glenn, she actually came pretty close to a triple-double because she had 8 points and 11 rebounds and 7 assists. So she's 2 points and 3 assists away, which the way Yokie Lee was scoring today, I mean...
Yeah, that's realistic.
Getting 3 more assists isn't out of the question. She went 3 of 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3. As you can imagine, there weren't a ton of 3-point attempts today from the Cats. She had 2 fouls, 1 turnover. She had 5 steals as well, which is awesome.
Insane.
Yeah, Briley Glenn did not have as good of a game. She had 6 points, 4 fouls, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 steals, and 3 rebounds. And Emily Ebert, she did kind of struggle a little bit, although she did get a lot of assists. She had 2 points, 6 assists, 5 turnovers, which isn't great. Then she had 2 steals, 4 rebounds. Just kind of filling the stat sheet as she went. And then the only other player to score is Laura Mackey. She had 6 points, 1 of 2 from the field, made all 4 of her free throw attempts. She had 3 assists, 2 no turnovers with 2 rebounds and a steal, and had 4 fouls. Other than that, Rebecca Dollinger had 2 assists and a turnover. Simone Goodrich had 2 turnovers. Tara Lauterbach missed a field goal attempt. That's it. I mean, it was the Yokie Lee show, but it wasn't just her. Serena Sundell was excellent, as well as Jalen Glenn. They were excellent in different ways from what Yokie was, because she was just pure scoring, as well as rebounding, because she did have a double-double. She had 12 rebounds. So it's tough to think of other things to say. I'll just go through some of the quarterly stats. The second quarter, K-State as a team, they were 68% from the field, 11 of 16, and 2 of 3 from three-point range, so 66.6. They shot 92.6% from the free throw line on this game as well. The only 2 misses were Yokie Lee, and honestly, she was really tired. Give her a break.
Yeah, she got tired, bro.
Yeah, and even then, she was tired. That's 10 of 10 though in the fourth quarter. Not all her, but I mean the team went 10 of 10 in the fourth quarter. But everybody else was hitting their free throws.
Yeah, but 3 was a little bit of an issue because we hit 2 in the second quarter and then never hit one again.
Yeah, we went 3 of 15 for the game, 20%. 0 of 5 from 3. Then I think Jeff Mitty said, "Hey, stop doing that" in the fourth quarter, and then we went 0 of 2 that quarter.
Guys, we got to get a record.
Yeah, because I was talking to somebody I know in the press row, and I think they didn't know about the record until fairly late in the game. I think it was about with 5 minutes left, the under 5 timeout. somebody went and told one of the managers about it, and then they knew, and they said, "Oh, we should definitely be feeding her."
Oh, wait.
So,
guys.
yeah, so they then figured out what the record was, got her to 61, and then everybody erupted. It was probably the loudest I've ever heard a women's basketball game.
Oh, absolutely. And some people didn't even know the record had been set.
Yeah, the people
We
sitting...
need to explain it to some people.
Yeah, people sitting behind us, they weren't aware of the record. I mean, they saw the school record and the career high and the Big 12 record and stuff, and we were counting down because she was approaching slowly, and they were like... And
What are you counting down
Yeah,
for?
no, what are you counting down
The
to?
NCAA record.
And they were like, oh. Okay. I think word kind of slowly spread because there were some people that knew, some that didn't. People were like letting others know. But I mean, I was looking when Yokie came off the floor there at the end, and she was giving hugs to everybody because obviously she was incredible.
Yeah.
Even the OU fans were clapping and giving her a standing ovation because at that point,
what else? Yeah, what else can you do?
Not a lot you can
it's
do.
Like in baseball, you get a perft game thrown against you. It's like, you can't be mad. You just gotta...
Yeah, especially a game like baseball where it's you're playing 100-something games.
Yeah.
It's something like that.
All right.
It's kind of bound to happen at some point.
You got us.
Yeah. And that's the same thing that happened here. But Yokie was absolutely sensational. She's confirmed she's coming back next year for her senior season.
Dude, that's so...
Yeah.
Another year of development for our freakishly talented freshman class.
Yeah.
Plus Yokie reaching final form.
Yeah, because this is not all that we're going to see of Yokie. She has another round of evolution to go through. And so she'll be back. She theoretically has a COVID year. She wants to use it. And
who's getting the collection fund together?
Yeah, the age of NIL. Who's to say? But yeah, then Serena Sundell, Jalen Glenn, Briley Glenn, they'll all be sophomores. Then we have 4 McDonald's All-Americans coming in as well that will all be true freshmen. Heavenly Greer should be available next year, who hasn't been.
The freshman, for some reason.
Yeah, the freshman from Denmark, Lynn Peterson, should be available. If Rachel Ranke wants to come back, she'll be available. And then Dollinger will be back. I think the only people graduating are Simone Goodrich and Laura Mackey.
Which, yes, granted, are kind of losses.
Yeah,
but
Mackey has
McDonald's All-Americans.
Yeah, Mackey's been valuable, and Simone has had her moments as well. But, we're bringing in McDonald's All-Americans. Our freshmen are developing at a very high rate, and I'm really liking what we're seeing from them. And, of course, Yoka. She'll be back. Next year's team is looking really dangerous.
We could actually make a really... I know that this is going to be really early, but I don't care. If this team this year will make a deep tournament run, we will not win. We will get buzzsawed
once
by
we hit
South Carolina.
Once we hit one of the 1 seeds, there's only so much that you can do.
But next year, I truly think that if the current development path keeps going, because our freshmen are already ridiculously good, we'll have Ioka back. We'll have 4 McDonald's All-Americans coming in. If we are ever going to knock that natty monkey off of our back, next year might be it with the women's Catsketball team. I think
next year's women's basketball team, I think they're going to have the best shot at a natty that any K-State team has had since, I would say, probably the 2012 football team, maybe the 2017-2018 men's team that went on the Elite Eight run, just because that's a lot of March Madness, honestly, getting hot at the right time. We saw that with Oregon State and UCLA last year. So next year, this is going to be a team to look out for, because this is going to be a stacked squad, because they're going to bring back almost all of their starters. Ayoka should be back. The 3 freshmen will all be back. Greer should be eligible. Ranke could decide to come back if she'd like, which we've been... this team's been doing what they have been without Rachel Ranke, who is supposed to be one of their top contributors at the beginning of the season, but she's been hurt. And then you had the McDonald's All-Americans coming in. 4 of them, to be exact.
Our entire recruiting class.
All McDonald's All-Americans. So
that doesn't happen.
No, it does not. But this team is loading up. for what could be a very special season next year. This year
is already special.
This year's already, this is the best season that any K-State team has had since the men's Catsketball Big 12 title team, I think. So
I think that we could win Big 12 this year.
It's not out of the question, honestly. We had the one bad week where we lost to Iowa State and Texas Tech. The Iowa State game was just completely a blown loss. Texas Tech, I think we've now seen as an aberration.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anything like that will happen again, maybe one more time. But Iowa State, they just dropped two games in a row. We beat Baylor once already. If we can handle Texas, then all of a sudden the path to the Big 12 championship becomes a lot more clear. And I don't think this is a national championship team this year. It might be. But
I mean, I'd be here for it.
I'd allow it.
I would allow it.
I don't think they're deep enough to do it, but especially just because there's so many players out for various reasons, like Ranke with injury, Lynn Peterson with injury, Greer for NCAA weird shenanigans, and
no one knows.
Nobody knows what's going on. Savvy Simmons, she's out with injury as well, I believe. So, who's to say? I mean,
why not?
Why not? Why not?
Why not us?
Why not us? So I think that's something that we're gargantuan. That's something to look forward to, I think, next year. I'm going to be sad that I won't be a student next year because I'll have to pay like $2 to get into games instead of going for free. But, shame, honestly.
That's a deal breaker. $2
anybody.
for Yokie. No, shame. Can't.
No.
Won't do it.
Won't allow it.
Yeah, it's... Man, that is... For as low as we got during the KU game, this has just brought us right back up.
Yeah, I've truly about forgotten about that game at this point just because of how incredible Yoki's performance was. I mean, the KU game hurts. It really does, but you know what? If that's a trade-off for a NCAA record-breaking performance...
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I will honestly take it.
Every day of the week.
Yeah, I will as well.
Yeah, that pretty much concludes this episode unless you want to have anything else to say.
I think I've said about everything I want to, so.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching or listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to reach out to the show, we are at Aggieville Alleycats on Twitter. That's capital A, and capital C in cats. If you want to reach out to us on a more personal note, I am at AC Edwards 00.
I am at Connor Baltazar, capital C, capital B.
If you want to support the show in a financial sense, we have an official merchandise store where you can get such designs as Neon Alleycats and Play Sandstorm Cowards. But most importantly, thank you all for listening and watching this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you still love. Stay safe, Alleycats.